Okay, let's move on and talk about girls. I want to talk about Lena Dunham as a cultural figure, but first let's talk about the show. The latest season has begun. Stephen Marche, are you excited?
I can't believe I had to rewatch the show again. Like it was yeah. I mean, everything that I think has been said about this show, that could be said about the show, has been said about it already at this point. I do think that why I've disliked it for 4 seasons remains absolutely in place. I think it's the title. You know, this time I really thought like the title itself is just so arrogant. You know, like girls, like that. You're girls. You're not girls. Like the world is full. The world is full of a lot of girls, and you're just a couple of girls, right? And I think you know, it is the epitome of the Brooklyn aesthetic, which I think is absolutely exhausted, and which has become absolutely as predictable as Dr. Luke, as the most manufactured pop music. And I think any political resonance that it may have had at one point in time has long ago been evaporated in the face of other great shows like Broad City.
But I think that's true even in this first episode. I mean, I feel like the humor in the show is much more broad. It's much more satirical in a way. I mean, like they are just parodies of their characters at this point. So it opens and Marnie's getting married, and Marnie is sort of, you know, Marnie's passive aggressive, and Jess is a hippy dippy, and you know, Hannah's self-involved. Like, you know, it opens with these characters having become full parodies of themselves. Like the show is now, I think, beginning to make fun of itself, and I think the weight of that expectation in the first year of the whole, you know, she is the voice of her generation, I think that has been lifted from the show, and now it's just kind of a half-hour kind of sitcom-y indie
bunch of
show.
rich kids bored with themselves.
For sure, you know, but I also think it's sort of just on the level of any other. I don't think the show itself is the cultural phenomenon that it was when it first came out, you know, 5 years ago, 4 years ago.
But
Emily, will you defend the voice of our generation?
No. Lena Dunham is the voice of my generation specifically. We're very close in age, which is one of the reasons why I've never really cared about the show. I feel like for me, the actual mechanics and plots on the show are more or less boring, and it's just not my kind of thing. That said, I think Lena Dunham, even like as we're talking about Keisha, is a super interesting figure, in part because she has ownership over her creative process. She is the person who, not only is she the showrunner, she's creating all these other side businesses. She's building a network where celebrities can come to her to break stories and eclipse, you know, the people in this room, which is not so great for us, but great for fans and great for celebrities. She's breaking down the gates, you know.
Well, let's talk about that.
Right.
Beyond Girls, Lena Dunham has become a huge heavy hitter. Culturally, what's your take on Lena Dunham as a cultural force?
Yeah, I mean, so she put out a podcast through BuzzFeed called Women of the Hour, which focused on feminism, female figures in, you know, politics, culture. She puts out a newsletter called Lenny, which is, you know, very smartly done. It's a lot of personal stories and Q&As and interviews, but it's very overtly feminist. And one of the things I think that's interesting about Lena Dunham is when Girls first came out, and to Steve's point that, you know, Girls is an arrogant title, and she got a lot of flack for presenting this lily white world of gentrified Brooklyn, and it felt very rarefied and elitist. And I think to Lena Dunham's credit, she has listened to a lot of her critics around it. She's not backed away defensively. She's engaged in conversations about that. And when you look at stuff like Women of the Hour and Lenny, she has made a huge point of being much more inclusive in the voices of the writers that are participating and the people that she's spotlighting. And she's still only 28 or 29. And so I feel like she's somebody who, you know, it almost feels like Girls is done for her. Like it feels like that is the past, and there are new projects and new things that she wants to engage with. But I think that she's had this very public you know, spent the later part of her 20s very publicly getting a lot of flack and a lot of just really mean-spirited hate and criticism, you know, for being a young woman with an opinion as well. And I think she's kind of risen to that really kind of gracefully.
May I add to the mean-spirited hate
Go
of
for
the?
it.
Yes.
How can you love Taylor but hate Lena? I don't
The
understand.
reason is quite simple. Taylor Swift writes brilliant songs. Lena Dunham has never written anything good ever.
Oof.
I mean, like she does not write good television. She does not write good essays. Like there are lots of people out there writing good television, writing good essays. She is not one of them. You know, and the thing I find is like when I hear about Lenny and, you know, all this stuff, like this is the way that culture is working now, where you have rich kids educated, whose parents, her parents are both famous artists. Taylor Swift's parents bought her a piece of. They are able to manipulate these systems of belonging in such a way that they remain forever. Both they challenge privilege, but are of course the perfect embodiment of it all the time. That's the trick that they teach you at the Ivy League schools, right? And and for me, what she represents is this kind of hoop jumping alternative culture. Lenny really, the difference between that and Goop is strictly a few subway stops. They are
I
the
don't
same.
think that's fair.
They are the same
I don't
kind
think
of.
that's
They're the
fair.
same kind of extended branding exercise. They operate on the same kind of be like her narcissism, and
You mean celebrity?
yes, exactly.
Okay.
And that's right. That's right.
Well,
she is a celebrity just the same way that Gwyneth Paltrow is.
Well, Emily, I'll ask you, what do you think of Lena Dunham as an agenda setter?
I think that is her role, and she's stepped into it very admirably. I don't agree with everything she puts forward. I don't agree with everything she puts on the table. I don't expect to agree with everything any one person does. I think that Lena Dunham is trying to use her celebrity as a galvanizing force to actually make the culture better. She missteps all the time, as would anyone else. I think that she's doing a great job making things, contrary to Steve's point, bigger than herself. If we're going to actually entertain this Goop idea, that's the opposite of what Gwyneth Paltrow does.
And I think there is this unfair, standard that we set celebrities, in a way, because I think there's always going to be a certain disingenuousness or naivete attached to celebrity activism. There's always going to be a sense that it feels a bit awkward or forced or whatever. So, I mean, I hear so I think that there's always going to be this lens that, efforts like Lena Dunham's to try to, talk about feminism or to take up these issues are going to feel always through the filter of her privilege and her power. But I think it's still great that she is making this effort to do it. And I do think that I agree with Emily. I do think there's something very different between Goop, which is a lifestyle publication, and Lenny, which is actually publishing a lot of different voices and taking up serious political issues.
No,
Yeah.
Gwyneth Paltrow has politics too. It's just that Lena Dunham's politics are think piece politics. It's just that Lena Dunham's politics are in smaller magazines.
Yeah, sure.
That's the only difference.
Okay, but Lena Dunham also with Lenny, so her most recent dispatch, she ran an editorial in support of Keisha, where she also identified to her many, many readers that there are still 19 states in America where men who raped women can claim paternal rights over the children who are the products of those assaults.
Okay, we can debate Lena Dunham some more another time. I have one more topic
Part two.
I want to get into here.
Part 10 million, I think it would be more.